Well, George Papadopoulos offering information on both Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions. Joining me now here in New York is CNN national security analyst Samantha Vinograd and in Washington, CNN legal analyst Shan Wu. Shan, if I could begin with you here. I mean, you have George Papadopoulos appearing to contradict Jeff Sessions' account of that proposal for then-candidate Trump to meet with the Russian president during the campaign. Now, you could say Papadopoulos lied, and he's going to go to jail for lying to the FBI. But presumably he knows the penalty for lying once again. From a legal standpoint, when you have someone like that, is there credibility automatically impugned by that guilty plea to lying, or does this create problems for the Attorney General?
I think it creates big problems for the Attorney General. I mean, I think he should be thinking about lawyering up himself, because he's clearly on the record under oath stating the exact opposite of what Papadopoulos is saying. And at this point, while juries sometimes factor in the question of credibility if someone's pled guilty, for purposes of our analysis and the investigation's analysis, Papadopoulos has no reason to lie about Sessions at this point. And there's this transition that cooperators make where they may start out very aggressively denying things, and then Papadopoulos, obviously without the benefit of counsel really leading him through it, continued to fudge with the FBI, which got him into more trouble, may land him with some jail time at this point. And that's a transition he's made. I think he's fully on board with knowing he's got to tell the truth now. That's not a transition the Attorney General seems to have made. Right,
because I mean, he knows he's going to jail for lying. I suppose it'd be a big risk to lie again in those circumstances. Samantha, of course, the politics overshadow this entire investigation on every level. You have Trump and his lawyers now claiming that there is some sort of 60-day rule, that since we're 60 days from the midterm election, that Robert Mueller is barred, somehow legally even, from releasing any report or making further indictments, etc. Is that really true?
It's not true, Jim, and this has been the subject of much debate by lawyers much smarter than I am. There's no written rule that says that prosecutors can make indictments or take investigative steps within 60 days of elections. It's general guidance, and prosecutors are supposed to look at any political impact that these steps or indictments may have. But I think that President Trump and his team are really glossing over the key point here, which is we should want this investigative process to be thorough. This is about a hostile foreign power directing intelligence operation against the United States. And we have no indication that Bob Mueller has wrapped up his investigation yet. We have more hearings next Friday. Roger Stone was emailing his supporters earlier asking for contributions to his legal defense fund. So the first question is whether Robert Mueller is done with his investigation. And at that point, the DOJ will assess the timing.
And Shannon, of course, when James Comey came out, reopened in effect the Hillary Clinton email investigation a handful of days before the election, you didn't have objections from many Republicans, including Trump supporters. That said, in the FBI and elsewhere, there were many critics of Comey bringing that investigation so close into the public spotlight, so close to a vote. From your perspective, what is if it's not a law, what is the norm?
I think the norm is to try to not have bombshells going off right on the eve of an election. And I think that Mueller is going to be respectful of that norm. But the way Giuliani is pitching it, I mean, it just sounds kind of like desperation. As Sam said, there's no hard line. There's no law about that. And as a legal strategy, he's got 2 points he's got to think about. First, he's got to satisfy his client, which is the president. And he may be repeating this just to keep the president happy. The other strategy he's got to do is to see if he can somehow advance the ball, and he would like to delay things. That I don't think he's succeeding in at all. He's beginning to just sound like he's repeating this over and over again. I think people don't really believe it. And it's not going to have any effect on Mueller. That's been very clear. No amount of publicity affects the Mueller team whatsoever. So in that sense, his repeating this doesn't get him any place.
Yeah, that's been one hard and fast rule for sure. Is that the special counsel does not seem to be listening to the noise outside this investigation. Samantha, on another story, really important story in the New York Times just a couple of days ago, the U.S. Made an effort to try to flip Russian oligarchs as informants. One of them, Oleg Deripaska, someone who became somewhat central to this Russia investigation. Russia saying today, calling those efforts brutal tactics, but I imagine from your perspective, long time in national security, that this is something that countries do.
It is, and this is just one of those come-on moments, Jim. We know that the Russian intelligence services, at Putin's direction, tried to reach out to members of the campaign and high-level officials throughout the U.S. government. This is just standard spycraft by the Russians, and the FBI and the DOJ working on their own counterintelligence operations and trying to speak with men and women close to Vladimir Putin is something that's routine, par for the course, because they know that someone like Oleg Deripaska would have valuable information and valuable access.
No question. Well, Samantha, Shan Wu, thanks very much for walking us through.
Thanks.
Sure. Good to be here.
And coming